This is a sports catastrophe production. Hey there, Heather, ho there, it's Jeff Cutter, and welcome to another sports catastrophe birthday boy. And the birthday boy for today, July the 13th, is a ABA legend. He was one of the high flyers of the American Basketball Association, then went to the NBA. He would play for the Denver Nuggets and Seattle Supersonics in the NBA. He was one of the best college basketball players around, and I think the best player from NC State in history. He scored 70 or more points in a game, only one of 6 players to do that, joining Kobe, Will Chamberlain. I'm blanking. I apologize, but anyway, he's in the Hall of Fame since 1996. The vertical leap, he was the man of the vertical leap and all that. He was David Thompson. Well, David Thompson today is now 68 years old. He would grow up in North Carolina and easily go to North Carolina State, even though he could have went to North Carolina. But anyway, he helped NC State go undefeated in 1973, which should have given the NC State Wolfpack a trip to the NCAAs. But unfortunately, because of recruiting problems to do with David Thompson, there was a rule violation and the Wolfpack were banned. However, the next year he got NC State to a 30-1 mark, and they almost botched it. Now, back in those days, only one team per conference could get in a sense. So NC State had to face Maryland, 1 versus 4. And Thompson helped the Wolfpack beat the Terrapins 103-100 in a game in overtime, no shot clock and no 3-point field goal. Imagine how high scoring the game would be if the shot clock and 3-point shot were inside it. Now, of course, a lot of saying, wait a minute, shot clock. Wasn't that in the NBA? Yes, in the NBA. But the NCAA didn't adopt the shot clock until 1986. But for 45-second clock, and then by 94, it turned to be 35 seconds. And all that. The NCAA tournament then decided that because of this whole brouhaha with NC State and Maryland, they would put more teams in, that you could have multiple teams from the same conference. David Thompson helped NC State win the 1974 title, shocking the powerhouse UCLA Bruins in double overtime. In the championship game, they crushed Marquette 76-64. He created the alley-oop pass, allegedly. So when you look at David Thompson and his sport in the ACC and all that, he would be basically the best guy around. You can compare him with Michael Jordan, Ralph Sampson, Tim Duncan, Christian Laettner, and even Len Bias. Unfortunately, Thompson played basketball when the slam dunk was outlawed in college between 1967 and 1977 because of the Lou Alcindor rule, or George Barrett when we technical. So anyway, Thompson did dunk in his final game. However, it was disallowed by technical foul. Thompson's number 44 is the only number retired by NC State. So in his 3 seasons, he did well. Thompson was the number 1 pick in the ABA and NBA drafts. Number 1 pick with Virginia and the number 1 pick of the NBA with Atlanta. He decided to sign in the ABA, but not with Virginia. Virginia had issues and had to fold their team, so he went to Denver instead. He was famously runner-up in the slam dunk competition in 1976 at the ABA All-Star Game in Denver. So, yeah, he was second. Julius Erving with that free-throw dunk was just amazing and all that. But yeah, it was high-flying and all that. Denver had a chance to win what would be the last time the ABA would have a championship series, but they lost in 6 games to the New York Nets. Thompson was still awarded ABA Rookie of the Year. And all that. But then, of course, a few months later, there was the big ABA-NBA merger, so Thompson continued with the Denver Nuggets, making 4 All-Star games. In fact, he would score 73 points on the final day of the season against the Detroit Pistons to try to win the NBA scoring title. But strange as it sounded, he didn't win the scoring title. he missed by percentage points to George Gervin of the Spurs, who put up a 63-point game later on in the day. So Thompson missed the scoring title in his second year in the NBA. Thompson would sign a contract extension for 5 years, $4 million, not per season, but overall. Unfortunately, injuries would hurt him. He did okay in his comeback season in '81 with Denver, but he faltered, and then the Nuggets traded him to Seattle for Phil Henslick. Thompson made the '83 All-Star game as a Seattle Supersonic and did pretty well for himself. He couldn't believe it. He had knee problems, and then he missed pretty much the '83-'84 season because of drug rehab. And it feels good that, he tried to check into rehab and all that. Thompson said his substance abuse problems were because of his loneliness and isolation after his 1980 foot injury. In fact, he checked into a Denver rehab facility in '83 and then had a career-ending knee injury because he was shoved down a stairwell during a fight at Studio 54. And then he tried to get to the Pacers, but failed miserably. But in 1986, he said he would spend $1,000 a day on cocaine. But he checked in rehab, and after a 6-month jail sentence in 1987 for assaulting his wife, Thompson turned his life around and became a committed Christian and reorganized his life. And he would work with the Charlotte Hornets Community Relations Department. He would play in the Legends Classic. The NBA decided during the All-Star weekend to have legends play each other and all that. The NBA All-Star Legends game, which seemed to be pretty good. They were doing pretty well and all that. So anyway, they did it from 1984 to 1993. Unfortunately, due to injuries, which David Thompson did that. Thompson and all that. They decided to change it. David Thompson went back to NC State to complete his degree in sociology in 2003. Inducted to the Basketball Hall of Fame in '96, and was the guy who introduced Michael Jordan for his 2009 introduction. He's a motivational speaker and is close with the Hornets and Nuggets. Thompson and his wife have 2 daughters. His one daughter actually graduated with David Thompson from NC State. So yeah. So he did pretty well. 592 regular season games. He put up 22.7 points per game, which was good. But then, that knee injury just ruined him. Playoffs, he didn't play a lot in the NBA playoffs. But, it doesn't matter. He's a collegiate superstar and all that. Part of the NCAA All-Decade team of the 1970s. He played for NC State for 3 seasons. He could have played for 4, but at the time, freshmen were not allowed to play with varsity's team. Can you imagine how good NC State might have been? Anyway, he was the ABA Rookie of the Year, All-Star Game MVP in 1979, 73 points against the Pistons, April of 1978. The Nuggets would retire his number 33 in 1992, which was fantastic. So you have the guys who had 70 points in one game. Will Chamberlain, Kobe Bryant, David Thompson, Elgin Baylor, I forgot about that, 71 points, and David Robertson. That's right, David Robinson. Oh, Devin Booker put up 70 points in one game. I forgot about that. So yeah. All right, so I'm not perfect with my stuff, so sue me. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond, I do.